Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm bringing you best deck Sky Strikers. I don't believe it's best deck, but I've been encouraged that it is best deck through my own testing. Not saying best deck because there's a bunch of anime girls, I'm saying it's best deck because of the amount of fucks it gives your opponent not wanting to lose. It literally just says you're losing no matter what. I have 3 spells. Basically, it's if I have 3 spells in grave, you're not surviving this because of 2 Widow Anchor, 2 Shark Cannon, 2 Afterburners. You have so many ways to just out your opponent, it's ridiculous. So let's get on with it. First off, we have 3 Sky Striker Ace Ray along with 3 Sky Striker Ace Rose. Everyone's saying you only need to run 2 Rose because it's not as good as Ray. Obviously, it's not as good as Ray because it 1 requires your opponent to have a monster next to your monster zone. 2. Special summons itself if you summon a Sky Striker monster. So, well, you don't want another summon unless you're going to Zeke on turn 2. But yeah, it's still a monster that you normal summon and make your links with. It's still a monster you summon off of Airspace Area 0. So if you Pot of Desires and all your raid gets banished, like instead of having the chance to banish 4 cards and you can't make your links, you have a chance of banishing 7 cards and not making your links. So it's a lot more consistent of getting to your links as well. It's just the fact that you can open up with 2 Ray, or like 2 Ray, 2 Rose, and then a random spell that you're not going to use. So pick your battles wisely. But Ray can tag out for any of your Sky Striker Link 1s. It can't tag out for your Sky Striker Link 2 now, due to the fact that it says it must be link summoned. So just bear that in mind when you're going, okay, tag Ray into Zeke. You cannot do that, if you didn't know. So, just wanted to give you a little heads up, because I only realised that a few minutes ago when testing the deck, actually. So, that really didn't annoy me when I read it must be link summoned. Anyway, for our hand traps, I'm running 2 Ash Blossom and 2 Ghost Ogre. Now, judge me if you want, saying, oh, I'm only running 2 Ash Blossom, oh, I'm only running 2 Ghost Ogre. He probably doesn't have the money to afford another common Ash. I have another common Ash sitting around somewhere, I just don't know where it is. So I've decided to ignore it and play 2 Ash, 2 Ogre. Especially because I don't know why, but I just can't stand having 3 hand traps in a deck. Don't know why, so I just choose to run 2 of each. That way I can get in more, and they're semi-consistent, but I get more hand traps in. So let's say 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Veiler, that's only 2 hand traps, but if I have 2 Ash, 2 Ghost, 2 Ash, 2 Ogre, and 2 Veiler, then that's 3 hand traps, and still semi-consistent. That's my reason on that one. So that's 10 monsters. 10 monsters crack through very easily. And very quickly. But now I'm going to get onto the spells. First we have 3 Sky Striker Airspace Area 0. This is the only 3 of you running in the deck for spells, because 1, you're going to want to see this a lot, because this is probably your main way to get to multi-roll on your first turn, if you're lucky. If you're not, rely that you've drawn Foolish Burial Goods. Because if you don't have a way to get to multi-roll, especially with Engage getting banned, and you don't have Foolish Burial Goods, this is your only hope, and if you don't get to it, then sadly, you've gone first, and you're out of luck, you're not getting multi-roll. But basically this deck is still very, very consistent, especially with the ban of Engage. Just don't worry about that one. Just make sure you don't brick with 3 Ray and 2 Rose. Anyway, for the 2 ofs that we run for spells, we've got 2 Widow Anchor, because it is semi-limited. 2 Shark Cannon, you don't want to see it that much. 2 Afterburners, it's not a quick play spell, so it's useless. And again, 2 Jamming Waves. It's useless because it's not a quick play spell. If these were quick play spells, the deck will still be tier 1, trust me. If these were quick play spells, like they'd be broken. Oh, and I also forgot 2 Scissors Cross, because everyone doesn't like this card, apparently. If you don't know the main gimmick of Sky Strikers, so you haven't been playing until, like, if you've only joined just after the January ban list, basically their main premise is to make sure they have no monsters in their main monster zones, so they can activate their spells, which can do much different things, like add a level 4 Sky Striker Ace monster from your graveyard to your hand, destroy a set spell trap, destroy a face-up monster, banish from graveyard, banish from your opponent's graveyard, sorry, and negate the effects of a monster on the field. And if you have 3 or more spells in the grave, because this deck is so reliant on spells, which are very, very consistent and very, very annoying, they get more effects. Because who doesn't love more effects? So Scissors Cross will summon the Sky Striker Ace monster instead of add it to hand. Jamming Waves will non-target destroy a monster. Afterburners will non-target destroy will destroy one spell trap, so it doesn't have to be set. Shark Cannon will summon the monster that you banish to your field, and Widow Anchor will summon the monster. Will change control of the monster to your side of the field for the monster that you negate the effects of. And one more thing to note: none of these are hard once per turn, which is why this deck was so broken. This is why this deck was so splashable in like Orcus and just anyone who had 3 Engage and Hornet Drones and a Kagari. Well, they were pretty much set to go splash it in any deck. Like you had Orcus, you had fucking Striker Thunders. I'm pretty sure you had. You had Striker everything. You had probably Striker Dark Magicians at the time Strikers were at his peak. So because none of these were hard ones per turn, obviously Widow Anchor had to go to 1, because at 3, if you had 3 or more spells in the grave and they were set from your hand, that's 3 steals you chain, and then you can. That's 3 steals that you can chain, and then you set them during your end phase, which is absolutely ridiculous. So just a little brief history lesson on what strikers do. For our one of Sky Striker spells, we have a multi-roll, a Hornet Drones, an Eagle Booster, and a Hercules Base. Multi-roll, the most important card in the deck, in the main deck probably, even more important than Ray, because if you're activating your Sky Striker spells, literally we just put a counter on it to keep track, but it's just you're meant to remember, just put a dice on it or something so you actually keep track. But the amount of Sky Striker spells you activate this turn is the amount of Sky Striker spells you can set from your grave during the end phase. But you banish them if they leave the field. What is it? If paired with Shizuku, you can basically add Widow Anchor off Shizuku, activate Widow Anchor on Shizuku, and then just set it off of multi-roll, which is a bit of a dumb thing, because that's just a free set off of Shizuku. Hornet Drones, again, if you control no monsters, just summon a token. It's Dark, level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense. If you have 3 or more spells in the grave, it gains 1500 attack and defense. It doesn't say which position it's meant to be in, so it can go in attack mode if you need to just push for that extra damage. Eagle Booster, Ultimate Falcons, your Sky Striker monsters, and then, or one of them at least. And then if you have 3 or more monsters, 3 or more spells in your grave, sorry, you get to make sure it's in, can't be destroyed by battle as well. And Hercules Base, basically, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can activate this card. Equipped monster cannot attack directly. If you have 3 or more spells in the grave, when it battles, I believe, you draw 1 card, and then when it leaves the field, you can shuffle 3 Sky Striker monsters from your graveyard. Sky Striker cards from your graveyard to your deck. So that's a very good way for recovering either your spells or your extra monsters. So that is it for the Sky Striker spells. We are now on to the rest of the spells, with 3 Forged Burial Goods to either send your multi-roll, if you don't have it, or a way to get to it easily, or your Metal Flow Fusion if you don't need to get to multi-roll at the point in time, because you need to get an extra draw to actually make sure you have some plays. Because Forged Burial Good basically just sends 1 spell trap from your deck to the graveyard. That's it. There's no other drawbacks from anything. It's just send, you're going to activate 1, and it's quite a decent card because that just loads 2 spells in the grave for free. Next is 2 Pot of Desires. Obviously you need consistency with a deck without the best consistency card in the game. That was a disguised Pot of Greed, because apparently we needed that, which was Engage. But yeah, basically Pot of Desires is just your generic spell card that you run in any deck that doesn't have a good consistency card. And sadly, with Sky Strikers losing Engage because apparently having 3 spells in the grave was like a good restriction on Pot of Greed. We're deciding Pot of Desires because banishing 10 from the top of your deck, again, people are saying it's a neg 9. It's not. I made that mistake. It's a +1 because top of your deck, they're not resources. So if you banish from the deck, don't count as resources. So it's not a negative. Just for all the people that are just getting into Yu-Gi-Oh, just letting you know that now. Just make sure you don't banish your multi-roll. Obviously, you have no power over that, but just make sure you don't. Just stack it. Just put it at the bottom of the deck, and you'll be good. Or put it 10 cards in, but put it underneath the 10th card so you draw into it. Don't do that. I was joking, but if you ever do, that's fine. Nobody's gonna notice. Next is 2 Mystical Space Typhoon. I'm running this over Twin Twisters because 1, you need a discard for Twin Twisters, and 2, if you don't destroy 2 spell traps, you've gone card neutral, which you don't like to do in Yu-Gi-Oh! So, although it can load spells into the grave, this loads spells into the grave as well, because you're going to be destroying your airspace to summon one Sky Striker Ace monster from your deck. So that's 2 spells in grave already, and if you pair that with a Foolish Bearer of Goods, you've got 4 spells in grave. That's one's probably going to come out the graveyard. You're still going to have 3 spells in grave. Just keep that in mind when ordering 3 Ulti Twin Twisters. Try and order 3 Ulti MSTs. Not sure if they exist. And for our one-off spells, we have 1 Rotor, 1 Terraforming, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Metal Force Fusion, 1 Mind Control, 1 Double or Nothing. So this obviously shows that I'm running Utopia Double, because you have 2 level 4s, 1 you normal summon, 1 you special summon. Obviously, Reinforcements of the Army to search out those monsters, because the main deck monsters are warrior monsters. Terraforming to search out your 3-off field spell, so basically you have 4 field spells. Monster Reborn, because, again, Utopia Double, it can really, really help if you're trying to push. Or if you just want to go, right, I'm not going to be able to make Utopia Double, but I can make a Borrow Load. Monster Reborn back one of your Sky Striker Link monsters, and yeah, bada bing, bada boom, you got your Borrow Load, you're going to steal your opponent's monsters, and whatever. Metal Foe Fusion, you're not running Metal Foes, so don't think you're going to be activating it for its fusion effect. That's why if you draw it, you're gonna wish you had airspace in your hand, because apparently that never happens. Because you're never going to draw Metal Foe Fusion and airspace, because the cards hate each other. And you're usually going to draw this more than your 3-off field spell, and this is just a 1-off. But when it is in the grave, you're allowed to shuffle it back into the deck to draw 1 card. I would still class this as a card neutral. I know it probably counts as a card neutral because the graveyard counts as resources. And some people can see it as a +1 because like you're not able to get that back by any means in this deck. No way you're going to get that back to your hand. There is literally no way in this deck that is possible with my build, but I am still counting that as a card neutral because obviously you want your spells in your grave and so on. Mind Control, if you've been made to go second, just so you can get rid of your opponent's problem monster if they don't have any spell negates, and obviously Double or Nothing because you're running Utopia Double. Anyway, so that was the deck. Now let's go on to the extra deck. Okay. So to start off, we have 3 Sky Striker Ace Kagari. Kagari, best Link monster, by far, because it adds your Sky Striker spells from your graveyard to your hand, which is very, very good. And it takes 1 non-fire Sky Striker Ace monster. For your information, if all of the Sky Striker Link ones, they take a Sky Striker Ace monster that isn't their attribute. And I don't know why they did this, especially the fact that they can only be special summoned once per turn. But I think it's so people can't go Shizuku into Shizuku on their turn. And they have to use their other Link ones, but that's why we run Kaina at 1, because it's shit, but we can use it. And it also gains 100 attack for each spell card in your grave. It's fire, it's going to have that effect because aggressive fire. We have 3 Sky Striker Ace Hayate. Hayate is the attack directly and win. It's the poke for 15 and fuck off. that's pretty much what I've dubbed it at this point. It's the Poke for 15 and get more cards in my hand. It's paired with Kagari. It's your engage pretty much. It takes 1 non-win Sky Striker Ace monster. It's basically if this card battled, you send. I think it's like. Yeah, after damage calculation, if this card battled, you send a Sky Striker card from your deck to your graveyard. And because it's wind, it's able to attack directly because you can't touch wind. I'm trying to make comparisons to like each of their things, like each of their attributes and like pictures and shit. I don't think it's working, to be honest. Anyway, we have Sky Striker Ace Shizuku. Monster your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each spell in your graveyard. And during the end phase, you can add 1 Sky Striker Ace spell card from your deck to your hand. That's why it's so good paired with multi-roll, because you activate the Sky Striker spell card and then reset it with multi-roll. As long as it's quick play. Like, it's water. It can count as the spells of your water that's slowing your opponent down or something like that. I don't know how to make that comparison. You're running 1 measly Kayena, or Kayena, however you want to say it. Kyanus, because she's not that great. Obviously, she's going to stop your opponent's monster from attacking for like until their end phase and whatever. But it's not that great. Every time you activate a Sky Striker spell, you gain 100 life, and because it's Earth, it probably means like Mother Nature and shit. So I'm not sure. I just want to make these comparisons to make me sound smart, or make whoever gave me these ignore me. Next, we have 2 Sky Striker Ace Zeke. Zeke is a very, very, very good card. Although it is a Link 2, don't let it fool you. Don't think it's shit because it's a Sky Striker Link 2. It's a very, very good card. On summon, it banishes one of your opponent's monsters. Obviously, it has to be face up, like all of the other bloody cards in this damn deck. That's saying it can interact with your opponent's monsters, except for Damning Waves. And you can target 1 card you control, and it gains 1,000 attack, and then you destroy that card. So if you pair that with Ray, again, it's going to target it, you're going to link it off, or quick effect it off, and then summon something out, like a Kagari, to gain a fuck ton of attack. Zeke gains his attack, and you've lost nothing. That's why they also brought out Rose, because Rose can be paired with Ray or any Sky Striker Link monster to actually get this out. And also you have all the amount of opportunities to steal your opponent's monsters, and then you just go, thank you, and then link. And it can be dirty to just steal one of your opponent's monsters and banish another. We do have 1 Borolo Dragon for your Link 4. You have to run a Link 4 in this deck, that is generic. So Sky Striker players usually run Bomber Dragon. I know that's probably the best option, but I've decided Borolo Dragon is the best at the moment, because I don't have a spare Bomber Dragon or a Ball Sword Dragon, so I just decided to go Borolo, because I have 15 copies of it. That was no joke, by the way, I have 15 copies. But Borolo Dragon is a very, very good card, especially with this deck's theme of stealing monsters. It's just more stealing opportunity. But what you do need to take into consideration is that Brawl Sword and Bomber are much, much, much better, because of the fact that Brawl Sword goes in for the Swift OTK while this just stalls out longer. And Bomber Dragon, it destroys all monsters in the main monster zones, so you don't run monsters in your main monster zones. But then the thing is Bomber Dragon has become a lot better due to the fact that you're going to go, alright, banish all of your Fusion Synchron... destroy all your Fusion Synchronic Seas monsters, because they're going to be summoned to the main monster zones, right? Right, obviously, you saw this coming. Double and Utopia. There's not much to say about this, really. It's just the standard combo of Utopia double into Utopia. Just hope you don't draw into double or nothing, because you keep drawing into that, and then it's like, it's a target for airspace, but then you can't just double, so you're going to have to go Utopia and get its own attack, and attack with 5,000, which is shit. But yeah, there's not much to say about these. It's just a standard Sky Striker thing that they've been doing for quite a while now. So yeah, that's all the explanation that is needed, really. So yeah, that is it for my Sky Striker deck list so far. I'm not running any There Can Be Only ones. I'm not running any trap cards that I can't afford. So basically all of them. But I love this deck now because of its playstyle. I've always loved this sort of control playstyle. Especially with building my board and doing negates and stuff. But this is such a more simpler way of building a board. Instead of going through a 15-20 minute combo that's going to get Nibiru'd, I go normal summon Ray, Link of Shizuku, set 3, it's Ray, Shizuku, activate like a spell or something, like activate Mighty Roll, activate a spell, set 3, Shizuku activate, set off Mighty Roll, and then pass. It's just a very simplistic way of building a board, and I love this. That's why I love the deck. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you actually take this into consideration. Because Engage was banned, this is actually a very cheap deck at the moment. Setting aside rarities and stuff, if you have lowest rarities, it's really quite cheap. That's why I've not gone for like secret rares and ulti Hayates, because I'm not planning on playing this deck for ages. I just wanted to build this deck up myself because why not? That's what I do. I build decks because why not? I have like loads of other decks that's just sitting around because why not? And I might even showcase them on the channel. So if you have any ideas for good spell cards that I could probably use to become a better player, please put them in the comments below, and I will see you all next time.